Hi, Robin. How are you doing?
Hi, Joel. I'm doing great. How are you?
Great, and great to see you today.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to be here.
So, I wanted to ask you about your experience where Paul McKenna got you to quit smoking. He hypnotized you to quit smoking back in Tallinn, Estonia, on stage in on July 8th last year, right?
Yep. July 8th. That's
Just
the
over
date.
7 months ago.
Yes, yes, yes. If
And
anybody asks when did I stop smoking, it was July 8th.
amazing. And
hmm
how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, it feels so good to say I'm a non-smoker. That's really awesome. It's just like, the positive visual when Paul says that movie screen and there you are, you're this, non-smoker and step into that. And you feel great when you step into that person that you want to become. And now I'm standing in that person. I am that person, that non-smoker. So it's very cool. It's very cool. It's so nice. This is what I don't miss. I don't miss having I don't miss having a large handbag with not only cigarettes in there, but lavender spray, hand cream, breath mints, all these things that I needed to hide my addiction.
Hmm.
And so it's nice that I can just grab my wallet and run out the door. If I want to bring a little handbag, I can, but I don't need to have all these toiletries to hide the shame of smoking. Yeah.
So it
So
was a
that's
shame. It was a shame that you felt.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I didn't let people know at all. If I was going to have a cigarette, I always had some sort of hoodie around to zip up and put over my hair. If it was in my car, I'd put that on. Sometimes I would put that on and get out of the car and go somewhere to smoke. So I was always disappearing and putting on a costume and then lots of spray and lavender and breath mints and things. And that there's like a whole lifestyle, secret lifestyle that goes with that when you don't want people to know. I'm sure there's plenty of smokers that don't mind if people know that they smoke, but I just was always ashamed of it because I like to lead a healthy life. And this was quite the contrary.
So you wouldn't really smoke in public then, or you
No,
wouldn't want people to see you smoking? So you're
right.
more like a closet smoker?
Yeah, which meant I spent a lot of time in the closet. I was in that closet smoking, it was, secretly. I could go almost the whole day sometimes without a cigarette, but then, get home and get right to the window in my fan and smoke or sit out on the deck and smoke and chain smoke. And, so yeah, yeah, I was very, very embarrassed to ever say that I smoked. I thought it was kind of just, I wasn't living up to the best person that I could be for myself.
Right. So you didn't smoke inside your place as such.
If I did smoke inside because it was bad weather, then I used the back bedroom with the door shut, candles going, a fan pointed outwards, and sit right by the fan because I didn't want it to be in the house.
So there was always this feeling of shame attached to smoking.
Yes, yeah.
And why did you have that shame? Where did it come from?
Because I know better. I always try to eat healthy and exercise. My whole life I've exercised and eaten pretty healthy compared to most people. I'm sure there's another notch I can go, but it's just I just know it's not good for the body. It's not good for my teeth. It's not good for my mouth, my health. It's not a good example to my son. It's and he's a grown adult now, but he caught me in his latter years. I could hide it when he was little, but even then, I'm sure he smelled it, you know.
Right.
I just didn't want
So
him to see me do it.
so knowing all this and feeling all of this, why didn't you quit? What kept you all those years from quitting?
Well, I think um I could blame it on a lot of things, but the first thing that comes to me is, I had a very rough childhood and I think I had a lot of anxiety, and that was my way of calming down. And I started when I was about 16 years old. So it was a very, very long time. Um, and as I told Paul, it was my best friend. It was there for the happy times, the bad times, the sad times, the angry times, the overwhelmed times, anxiety, whatever. I would reach for a cigarette, and it's that breathing and the whole motion of it was an emotional trigger for me to calm down.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes when I was falling apart, I'd be like, I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette. Oh my God, I need a cigarette. Where's a cigarette? I mean, there were times I was so desperate. If I saw a half one on the ground, I'd be like, I'm smoking that. I'm
Oh,
smoking it, or I'll take anything from somebody if we know it's not my brand or it's really harsh. There were times I'd be, I don't care, just give me a cigarette, and that's the desperate, and that's not a good feeling either. So there's a lot of negative emotions that are attached to it.
right.
So,
Were you aware of how many you were smoking a day?
oh yeah, I always counted. I always counted.
And what
So
number was that?
there were times in my life, like when I worked in Europe for many years. I worked in Europe for about 10 years off, I'd be there half a year working. And back then, 80s and 90s, everybody smoked. I think that's what propelled it, actually, is, it started when I was 16, but in Europe, everybody would just pull out a pack of cigarettes and put it on the table before we sat down to eat, and I'm sure over the years that probably changed, or maybe it did. I hope it did. But it became quite normal that everybody just smoked. So that was just the way it went. But then, of course, when I moved back to the States eventually and lived in the States, any friends that I had that were smokers had quit.
Mhm.
I was the last one. And, I just knew it had to go. And I think that's another reason I hid it, because all my friends had quit and I was still smoking, and I didn't want to be the bad influence or the weak link, So all of that stuff comes into play.
Right. So back in where you were in an environment where everyone was smoking, it was just the norm to smoke,
Yeah.
then that felt more okay for you to do, and that influenced you. And
Totally normal. Totally. I didn't even question it back then.
right.
Everybody smoked. I was in the fashion industry. Huh. As long as you were thin, you could do whatever you wanted to do.
And then since you've quit, have you been around smokers?
Well, I've only been around one smoker, and I couldn't tolerate the smell. It was disgusting. I made up an excuse to leave the environment and get away from that person. Even just watching them go to take it was repelling. The whole thing
Mhm.
just was a turn off. And I remember thinking, the girl that had introduced me to these friends of hers, I thought to myself, wow, I am never going to spend any time with them.
Oh.
It's not going to happen.
So why is that? What actually repulsed you? What were you feeling, or what do you feel when you're around in such
Well,
situations?
it's I'm not even going to judge what I'm going to say, but it's always looked like a very weak activity, of character, a weak character link. So if you drive by an office building, you see three people out the side door all smoking in the cold, and then they drop it and they run inside, and you go, yeah, I just don't want to be that, and I was, but I'd be looking at it going, I don't want to be a part of that,
Hmm.
and so when I'm around somebody like that particular day, I saw this gentleman smoking, and I know that his wife smokes too, but she was in the car and I wasn't standing by her. But he's like, yeah, we're gonna do so much stuff together, and I'm thinking, no, we're not. No, no, you guys are. I'm not gonna be joining that group because they've got smokers. And I mean, this, I just never want to go back. I don't want to hang out with smokers. I don't want that influence. I mean, God forbid if I ever had too much to drink one night and somebody handed me a cigarette. I just don't want to go in that direction. And I can't smell it anyway. I can't tolerate the smell now. It's just disgusting. I never did like it. I used to always not want my environment to smell of smoke or me to smell of smoke. But um, yeah, it's really repulsive now.
So what do you think it was that actually changed in that hypnotherapy session that you
I
cannot tolerate it anymore? What is that?
When Paul had me make the 4 visuals, um, they were really, really creatively impactful. So, quite like the chocolate with the hair and the bugs in it, this was really disastrous stuff to make me stop smoking. So, you know, for example, black lungs, no teeth, trachea thing, whatever. So when you picture those things, and you can think about them in the back of your mind a little bit and let them just pass by. But when somebody actually has you visualize each one, and I like detail, right? So I made it very, very lifelike. And then it came up and up and up and up. It was just horrific, horrific,
Mm-hmm.
horrific.
What was going through your head? What was going through your head right then?
Obviously, I wasn't thinking, I was just being impacted by the visuals. But it was almost like it's just a death sentence. Why don't you just kill yourself right now? You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. 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 I
What
mean,
do
I
you
can
think
feel
about that
I'm getting
now?
a little emotional now because
Right.
it was so impactful. And that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure if somebody didn't have the visual, if they weren't connected to the visuals, it wouldn't have that same result. But, you know, if you can make them these visuals larger than life and really connected, then it's going to affect you for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And prior to this session, had you ever had such visuals before, or had you ever thought about this? These consequences?
No. I mean, I knew they were there, but I didn't spend time looking at them, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I didn't want to.
And how many times in the past had you decided to quit smoking? Or had
Whew.
you attempted to quit smoking then?
That's an even better one attempted. Oh God, I would say 10, at least 10 times. Oh, maybe a lot more than that. I mean, seriously going, all right, I'm gonna do it this time. Maybe 10. But in reality, how many times did I really say that? 20?
Right. And when you took it seriously and when you took those 10 times seriously, what methods did you use then?
So I tried lots of different ways, you know, whether I tried the gum, blech, can't do the gum. I don't like that chemicals in my mouth. I say that and then I smoke, right? But I smoked organic cigarettes, American Spirit. Not that that matters, but I couldn't taste this. I can always taste chemicals in food. I've always been like that. So those cigarettes, I wouldn't taste the chemicals. When I was in the 80s, I could smoke the chemicals. I was used to chemicals. But later on, as I became cleaner with the way I ate, I couldn't smoke regular cigarettes. It had to be organic. But anyway, so I would try the lozenges and the gum. That never worked for me. I didn't like the chemicals and the taste. I tried, I will say Chantix was the one that helped me stop for about 8 months. I did stop for 8 months with Chantix, but I did also cheat a couple times during those 8 months. But I stayed, I mean, I might bum one from somebody, but I would never buy a pack. So that maybe
Mhm.
only happened a couple times. But Chantix made me, when you'd smoke, you'd feel sick, you know. But they actually took it off the market because it was so bad for you. It had so many horrible side effects. They discontinued it. So I wanted to get it again, even though I'm not a prescription person, because it worked so well, but then I couldn't get my hands on it. And that was actually just this past year is when I tried to get it again. I used to try to wean down, meaning, okay, I'm going to start tomorrow and it's only going to be 6 cigarettes. And then the next week it's going to be 5. Next week it's going to be 3. I've tried that many, many different ways, many times. And none of it worked. So
Right, because if I understand correctly, that then you said that worked in a way that it made you feel sick every time you tried to smoke. So that almost repulsed you from it, from the feeling that it gave you. Whereas what Paul did through the hypnotherapy was a way for you to get that satisfaction as to what it was giving you, the calmness that it was giving you without the need to smoke.
right. Right. And actually, what Chantix did, and I don't know, maybe you just said this, but Chantix had me repulsed with smoking because you'd take and it would taste terrible. And you'd be like, oh, I don't want that. Actually, that's what Paul's thing did for me, but without even having to take the drag. Just smell it
Right.
or look at it, and it would repulse me. So it's almost like taking Chantix, but not having you can't even smell it or look at it, you know. It's even
Right.
better. right?
So
And
how
in a drug.
so what happens when you get that feeling of like you need to smoke, you feeling stressed? This would be a time when you'd normally have a cigarette. How would you get to that calm state now? What happens
So
instead
what
of
happens?
smoking?
Yeah, what happens now is every once in a while I still get that. It's not really the craving to taste it. It's more the emotional connection, emotional trigger of reaching for something to um escape my life, to numb out, right? Because
Hmm.
that's really what I would do with a cigarette is I would leave and have a cigarette. I would take a break from whatever I'm doing, walk away from my desk. When I was shooting weddings, because I'm a wedding photographer, I would wait till there's a slow period and be like, okay, I've got 5 minutes, leave my second photographer and say, I'm just going to go to the ladies' room. And then I'd go outside and go, oh, because it's a lot of stress, that kind of a day. So now what happens is if I'm feeling anxiety or overwhelmed or whatever it is that would normally trigger a cigarette, I'll feel like I want a cigarette, but instantaneously I go, ugh. So it's like, oh, oh. So I can't even finish the thought. It arises as a trigger and dissipates just as fast as I get it. So, and what I'll do if I'm feeling like, I got to do something, I'll just get another big thing of water and just start drinking some water, or get up and walk around, shake it off, get some new energy. One of the best things I do now also is on Spotify. I made a playlist of this really zen, awesome music that just connects me to my higher purpose. And I put that on and everything just goes away. That's my number one. I could be in the car freaking out about something or angry, or I can feel a little road rage coming up because I'm having a bad, tough day or whatever. I just put that playlist on and it just dials me in.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. So during this time that Paul was working with you and you were bringing up these images, when you were bringing up those 4 images, you were not even in a deep trance at that time, right?
Not really. He just puts you, but we had done so much trance work that I think at that point it was easier for all of us to relax very quickly, right? I realized also when I would go back to sleep at night, instead of being awake and having things in my mind, I would just immediately start a trance and be out in 2 seconds. So
Right.
I wasn't that deep into anything. It was just really more his guidance on the creative visuals
Right.
and the technique, you know. And I mean, thank God, after seeing all this horrible stuff over and over and over and over till it emotionally just really was upsetting, thank God he reset with a positive visual for me to step into. I can't
Right.
imagine leaving somebody like that. That's just a terrible way to leave somebody.
Right. Because you left there in a positive, yeah, in that with that positive visual, but you also left there pretty emotional.
Yeah. So
So what happened? What explain that emotional release that you felt at the end?
yeah. So when I left the stage and I went down the aisle and they de-mic'd me, I went straight out to the lobby where nobody was. And I just put my head down on a table and just bawled and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. It was huge. It was like somebody had just put the biggest mirror right in front of me, and I had never really seen what I looked like until now. And it was frightening. It was frightening because it was all of the consequences in my face.
Mm.
And literally all the consequences in my face, affecting my teeth, my gums, my bones. Seriously. It's not, we have periodontal disease in our family. So to be a smoker and have that is really the worst thing that you could possibly do for your teeth and your mouth. So I suffer with humongous dental bills and problems. If if I had anything that sucks all my extra money, it's been dentistry.
Right. Do packs of cigarettes in the US not have pictures of that on there? Okay,
No.
in Canada it's on there.
Well, I saw that in Estonia. I was like, what is that?
Yeah, in Canada they show
Yeah.
you your teeth. It's all on there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I always thought I was invincible. Like it won't bother me because I'm so healthy. I work out, I drink a ton of water, I eat well, right? So denial, total denial,
Right.
just supporting my habit.
But you recognize that now, but you didn't recognize that back
Totally.
then.
You know, I knew it. I knew it deep down on some level. I knew it for sure. I just was choosing not to look at it,
Yeah.
which I think that's what an addiction is. We all know, whether you're eating too much, drinking too much, sexing too much, when you're not doing things in moderation. You know that you're addicted to a certain behavior and it's not good for you. But it's amazing the stories you can tell yourself to continue with the pattern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the sad part.
So the day prior to this, Paul worked with you with goal setting, right? Where your goal setting was around the smoking. How how did that tie in with this? And he wanted to get very clear on your goal, right? So how did that all connect with the second session they did with you in the actual quit smoking session?
Yeah, actually, I could be completely wrong, but that first session didn't seem to do much for me, or I don't even really, it doesn't stand out in my mind because that second day was so huge that I don't even really recall much of that first day, except for that, he just wanted to see if I was attached to cigarette smoking. I called it my best friend, it's been with me through all thick and thin. But um, yeah, I didn't feel like that had much to do with what transpired on the second day. I could be wrong,
Right.
but the impact was all on the second day. Even when we left the first day, he brought me up on stage and said, okay, we're going to be doing this, not today, but and go home because it's your last day smoking, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And I got home and I was like, wow, I don't even feel bad having this cigarette. This is going to be interesting. And I was like, well, I better smoke a lot tonight because I'm not going to be smoking. And I was like, yeah, I hope that's the truth. I was skeptical.
Right.
Not
I
in
think I saw you the
Paul,
night
but
before,
in
right? I
me.
saw you the night before in the restaurant, and
Yeah.
you'd said, yeah, that was your tomorrow's the day, right?
Yeah. And I was
Did
like,
you?
yeah. But I didn't know if I 100% believed that it could happen because I guess I had tried so many things. I wanted it to happen, but I had tried so many things. I just wasn't 100% sure that that was going to be the ticket, you know?
I think watching the video back of that goal setting day, he got the ecology. He worked in the ecology with you, figured out your why, figured out everything, the consequences that would happen if you do stop smoking, how you would feel about it, everything related to that, right? And you got a lot of clarity on that. So
Yeah, that's true.
more was done and more happened there than you may
I think
consciously
so.
be realizing
I
on an
know.
unconscious level, right?
Yeah. Well, when he mentions that he does, he'll hypnotize somebody, like let's say it's fear of flying, and he'll speak to them later and say, after the flight, hey, how did it go? And they'll go, oh, good, but it was because I decided just wasn't going to be afraid of this anymore. I did that. I did that same thing. So after he had hypnotized me for smoking, that night, the next day, I wanted a cigarette. I had to really tell myself I don't want to smoke because I've been hypnotized and I just don't want to smoke, right? And no matter what, for the next 24, 48 hours or so, I would want a cigarette and say, no, I really can't. Come on, he hypnotized you and I don't want this to not work. And I noticed that in the first couple of days when people would ask me, I'd say, well, yeah, he hypnotized me, but it was really just time because I can hear myself saying, I don't want to smoke. So I think it's just me.
Mhm.
And then given another week or two, I realized, no, you were hypnotized. It's not you, because you would have done it before. And so it was almost like I did the same thing in a way. I was like, nah, it wasn't really the hip, but it was. It totally was. And now looking back on it now, I know it was that. It was totally
Right,
that. 100% it was that.
right. So you don't even realize it yourself. It just happens, and without you actually even realizing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you watch those videos back now, and you see yourself up there on the stage going through this, what's going through your mind, and how does it look to you?
Well, I mean, my first, I'm a very open book anyway. I'll tell anybody just about anything, except in the past when I was smoking, wouldn't tell them that. But, I it's a very vulnerable thing to watch, but it's also so important to help other people not smoke. And I don't want people to smoke. So if I can put myself on stage and be used as an example, or to help, hypnotherapists learn how to get other people to stop smoking, then that's awesome. So I don't mind watching myself up there. I know that it's emotional. I did watch the taping. I had someone do it with my phone that day that it was being done. So I did go and watch it a couple times afterwards, but not for months since. And now watching the program is when I've seen it for the first time since July. But yeah, it's emotional, and I'm an emotional person. Maybe somebody else wouldn't be as emotional, but I think if you're talking about life and death, and if you continue with this thing, you're gonna get sick and you're gonna die. It just hits you in the face like a 2x4, and I
Mhm.
think that's why I ended up sobbing, is it was just such a reality slap across the face. It's just like, wake up.
Right.
And the crying afterwards was also, I felt so sad that I had done this to myself for so long. And when I say that, I want to cry right now. So obviously that's the truth for me. Whenever that happens for me, I know it's the truth. That's so I think I felt genuinely apologetic to myself, just like incredible remorse to myself, for what I did health wise.
And now,
And I have to work on that. I've worked a lot on that forgiveness. So whenever I hear a song about forgiveness, I forgive myself, for treating myself that way.
right.
And, just always remind myself, as I do in life, that we're all just doing the best that we can for wherever we are at the moment. If you
I-
could do better, you would be doing better. So just have a little bit of empathy and just understand, yes, you've done the damage, but you also stopped it from going any further. So accept
And
it.
besides forgiving yourself and realizing that you've stopped the damage, have you congratulated yourself? Have you celebrated?
I don't know about that. Maybe I haven't.
Where's the celebration?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do celebrate myself in a lot of ways. There are many times I have a little dance party for it's like, oh, you're so awesome. You did it again, for whatever it is. But maybe I haven't quite done that. Maybe I need to
This
have a
is
little.
something worth celebrating. This is
Totally.
huge, right? This is
Huge,
huge. This is
huge.
something. How many years were you smoking?
Let's see. That's 30 something years.
30 something years. Most of your life you were smoking, and that's gone now.
Yeah.
Isn't that worth celebrating?
Oh, that is huge. Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely worth celebrating. I think I've celebrated in other ways. Like I wanted to do a really great cleanse fasting for 2 weeks. And there were certain times I'll say, well, you can because you don't smoke. So look at all the money you're saving. So go ahead. You know, so
Yeah.
those are my, or if I want to take another, paid quest, or something that's good for myself. I'll sometimes I'll say, well, look at all the money you haven't spent on cigarettes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So maybe I have, been
But just this
celebrating.
achievement, God, celebrate,
Yeah, I
celebrate,
know, right?
celebrate you for doing this,
Yeah,
right? Because you deserve it.
yeah, definitely. Oh, that was
Yeah.
huge.
So
But yeah.
one last thing is this friend. Smoking was your friend.
Mhm.
What happened to that friendship? Where is that
Oh
friend?
yeah. We had to get rid of that friend, toxic friend, how to leave it by the wayside. I don't miss that friend. I don't need that friend. I'm glad to have said goodbye to that friend, that toxic relationship. You know, that's just
Yeah,
not a good friend. No, nobody needs that friend.
excellent.
Yeah,
And how
yeah.
did it feel to say goodbye to that friend and to know that friend is gone?
Oh, that's great, man. I wish that I had done that so long ago. I wish I had stumbled across, the hypnotherapy early on. It would have been great to be able to have said that in my 20s, instead of my 50s.
Okay, but you've done it now. You've
Yes,
done it
yes,
now.
yes. You know what I love that
Uh,
about you, Joel, is this is twice now. I've had like a moment of regret, and you turn it around and say, but look at you now. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that you do that. The first time that you did that, it was, we were talking just maybe a couple of weeks ago, a week ago or so. And I forget what we were saying exactly, what I was saying, but you had turned it around. And I went, that's so good, Joel. I love that you do that because it keeps you focused on the positive and not drifting back into the negative, you know, which is
right, what's the
always
point?
choice. That's the way we need to always go,
What's the point, right? What's the point in
There is
doing that?
no
What's the point in dwelling on the past?
right. It's almost
And
like
you have
punishment.
so
Why do
much
that?
positive in this. Exactly. You have so much to be positive about.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been smoking for the rest of your life.
Oh my
And what
gosh.
kind of life would you have had up ahead had you continued smoking?
Well,
Right?
I can tell because I have a sister who's 4 years older who still smokes, but she also has no teeth.
So you're going to do hypnotherapy on her?
Well, she doesn't want to smoke. She's told everybody she's going to die smoking. She doesn't mind. A nurse, supervisor nurse. Oh my God.
The decision has to come from the person themselves.
It really does.
Yeah,
It really does, and
yeah.
and I have met plenty of people who do not, they're not going to stop smoking. They don't have any desire to stop smoking. They have hardly any teeth left. They're coughing. Can barely get through a sentence. It's like, but they're not giving it up. No way, no how. And it's like, wow, okay. You've got like death staring at you in the face, but you're like, I don't care.
Each person has to make their own decision. We cannot make decisions for others, unfortunately.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You
yeah,
can only stop when you want to stop. That's so true.
exactly. And you went in there determined to do it, and you did it.
Determined.
And I
How could
see
Paul couldn't ignore me when he said who has an addiction in here that they want to get rid of. I was like, I was touching the ceiling,
you
I was
made your determination strong. You were determined to get up there.
yes, he glanced around the room and went, who's the desperate person over there who's touching the ceiling, And it was me, like, pick me, Paul.
Uh,
That was and I thought to myself, for what we paid to be part of the program, while it was being taped and created, was definitely worth getting rid of smoking. And I was going to end up on that stage and get rid of the smoking. And I'm so glad that I signed up for that class.
And not only did you do this for yourself, but you've actually now done this as a service to others as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
I've
think
not
of
had,
all the lives that are going to
I
be
know.
saved, the health consequences that are going to be prevented.
Right. So I haven't done the smoking with somebody else yet, but I have two people coming up that want to reduce their intake of marijuana. So they want to lower that. They figured if you can do it with cigarettes, then you can probably do it with me with weed. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. Let's do
Right.
it. So we'll see how that goes. But isn't it great? It's so exciting to think that with this skill and with these techniques that you can help people get rid of some negative behavior in their life that they have felt trapped by, and
Right.
that they can move past it and become the person that they want to be. So
Right.
that's so freaking incredible. I can't wait to like get on a roll. And yeah,
Yeah. And talk with me after about the marijuana reduction, because it's
yeah,
not quitting reduction, because I worked with someone just on that and they've reported it being very successful and they've managed
excellent.
to reduce it.
Yeah, excellent,
I'll tell you what I
excellent.
did there and we can discuss that.
You'll have to tell me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
dying to hear what you did. Very
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Okay, Robin. Well, it's been great talking with you and thank you for sharing your story
Absolutely.
and all the power to you. This has been amazing, amazing. Well done. That's just I'm so
Uh,
happy for you and continue on your journey healthy
yes. Thank you.
and
I
smoke
will.
free. And
All
yeah.
right. Let's keep
Okay.
hypnotizing
Have a great
people.
rest of the day.
Woo! You too, Joel. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.